The planet Irian 6 was silent. Its skies were covered in dark clouds, and the ground was full of dust and broken metal. Long ago, the Lyran people had lived there, but after the Great War, most thought the planet was empty, only ruins and ashes. Eric, a young human engineer, stood near a broken bunker entrance. He was part of a small peace team sent to scan old sites. They were told it was just a simple check, no danger, no life, just records. But Eric felt something strange. His scanner kept beeping. Life signs, weak and hidden. He called to his team. Something's down here, he said. Probably a rat, one of them joked. But Eric didn't laugh. He knelt and cleared the rubble away from the metal door. After some work, the entrance opened with a soft hiss. Cold air rushed out. It smelled like rust and old memories. Eric climbed down into the dark bunker with a light on his helmet. The hallway was quiet, filled with dust and echoes. As he moved deeper, his scanner beeped louder. Then he heard a soft sound. Not a machine, not an animal. It was breathing. He turned the corner and froze. There, lying weakly in a corner, was a girl with pale lavender skin and silver hair. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark. She looked up at him, scared but not angry. Her clothes were torn. Her arm was wrapped in old cloth, and her hands trembled. Eric raised his hands to show he wasn't a threat. "It's okay," he said gently. "I won't hurt you." She didn't answer, but her eyes followed him. She tried to move, but pain held her back. Slowly, Eric took a step forward. He knelt beside her and offered a water pack. She looked at it, then at him, unsure. He smiled and placed it on the ground. After a moment, she took it. "You're Lyran, right?" he asked. She didn't understand the words, but his tone was soft. Her name, he later learned, was Nera. With care, Eric helped her sit up. He wrapped her arm with a clean bandage and gave her food. She ate slowly. Still watching him closely, Eric called in the rest of the team, but kept his voice calm. "I found someone," he said. "She's alive, and she's not a threat." The team was surprised. "A Lyran? Here?" "Yes, and she's hurt. We're taking her back." They placed Nera in a warm pod and flew back to the main ship. During the trip, she held onto a piece of metal shaped like a flower. It was her only thing left from home. Days passed. Nera stayed in the medical room, healing. Eric visited often. He brought books, small gifts, and even tried learning her language using a translator. She began to smile when she saw him. She taught him a few words. One meant friend, another meant light. Soon, she started walking again. Eric took her to the viewing window, where stars danced in the black sky. She looked amazed. Eric watched her eyes shine, and for the first time in years, he felt something gentle inside him. One night, they sat in the observation deck. It was quiet. Nera leaned her head on Eric's shoulder. Her eyes closing slowly, Eric didn't move. He just stayed still, watching the stars with her. Nothing was said. Nothing needed to be. They both felt peace. The mission ended 2 days later. Nera was to be moved to a Lyran medical station. Eric and his team would return to Earth. At the landing bay, Nera looked at Eric, her eyes sad but thankful. She reached out and touched his hand. "Thank you," she whispered in broken English. Eric smiled. "You'll be okay now." She nodded. Then the door closed between them. He watched her ship disappear into the stars. He thought it was goodbye. He had no idea what was coming next. Weeks passed since Eric returned to Earth. He tried to focus on his work at the spaceport, fixing broken ships and updating systems. But no matter how hard he worked, one face stayed in his mind: Nera. He remembered her soft smile, her gentle voice, and how she had leaned her head on his shoulder that night under the stars. He told himself it was nothing. They were just two people who shared a quiet moment. But deep inside, something felt different. Then the dream started. At first, they were simple. He would see Nera standing in a field of glowing plants, her hand reaching for him, her voice calling his name softly. Then, the dreams became stranger. He saw her in pain, clutching her stomach. He saw a bright light growing around her, and always her eyes looked straight at him, full of hope and fear. He would wake up each time with his heart racing and sweat on his neck. What is happening to me? He whispered to himself. One morning, he noticed something on his wrist. A mark. It wasn't there before. It looked like a small circle with lines crossing through it, just like the symbol Nera used to wear on her necklace. It glowed faintly in the dark. He tried scanning it, but nothing came up. It wasn't a tattoo. It wasn't a burn. It was something else. Meanwhile, far away on a Lyran ship traveling between sectors, Nera sat quietly in her room. Her hands rested on her belly. Her silver hair fell over her shoulders as she looked out at the stars. She was alone. The doctors told her something impossible. They said life had started inside her. Something new, something they didn't understand. Her body was changing, and the energy around her felt strange, stronger. They feared it. They didn't say it out loud, but she saw it in their eyes. But Nera wasn't afraid. She believed it was a gift. And she knew who the father was. It didn't make sense. Not in the way their science worked. She and Eric had not shared anything. Beyond closeness, no rituals, no merging, not even a kiss. But the bond between them had been real. Deep, something ancient. Nera remembered how his hand had held hers, how warm it felt. She remembered the moment under the stars, when her heart had beat in rhythm with his. Maybe it was the stars. Maybe it was fate. But she knew the child was his. The elders told her to rest, to hide, to stay safe. But Nera made a choice. She could not raise this child alone, not while feeling lost and afraid. She needed to find Eric. He had to know, not just because of the child, but because she trusted him, because she missed him. Nera used a small escape shuttle and flew across them. Stars. Her journey was quiet but long. During the flight, she spoke to her unborn child. He will protect you, she whispered. He will understand. Back on Earth, Eric was called into the control tower. A ship was entering without warning, small, unknown, but not hostile. We're trying to reach the pilot, the officer said. No response. It's heading straight. For the landing bay, everyone stood ready. Guards were posted. Scanners were active. The ship slowly touched down, landing softly like a bird. The doors opened. Eric stepped forward, his eyes wide, his heart stopped. It was her. Nera stood at the top of the ramp, her hands resting gently on her round stomach. Her silver hair flowed down, and her eyes locked on Eric. She took one step forward, then another. Her voice was soft, shaking, but clear enough for all to hear. Please marry me, she said. I'm pregnant with your baby. The room fell. Silent. No one moved. Eric couldn't speak. He didn't know if he was dreaming again. But his feet moved on their own, walking toward her. His eyes filled with emotion. So many questions filled his mind, but one thought was louder than the rest. She came back. For him. And something new had begun. Everyone inside the landing bay froze. Engineers, guards, and officers stared at the alien girl standing at the ramps. Edge. Her voice still echoed in their ears. Please marry me. I'm pregnant with your baby. Nera didn't move after speaking. Her hands rested gently on her stomach, and her glowing eyes stayed locked on Eric. Her voice had been calm, but her chest rose and fell quickly. She was nervous. Eric's heart beat louder than the room around him. He stepped forward slowly. He didn't care who was watching. He saw only Nera. Her face, her presence, it all felt like a dream. Nera, he whispered. She smiled softly and nodded. I found you, she said in her careful English. Our child needs you. One of the guards moved forward. Sir, should we stand down? Said Commander Alden, stepping in. Let her speak. The crowd began to whisper. Is she serious, the human's baby? How is it possible? Nera reached Eric, and without thinking, he reached out and gently touched her hand. Her fingers curled around his like before, soft and warm. It was real, not a dream. You're pregnant, he asked carefully. She nodded. Yes. I don't know how, but I felt it. It's you, our bond, made life. Eric looked down at her belly, slightly rounded under her robe. It glowed. Faintly, the same light as the mark on his wrist. He touched the mark through his sleeve. Somehow, This was connected. He believed her. Soon, medical officers arrived and took Nera to the research wing. She was calm but refused to leave Eric's side. He went with her, holding her hand the whole time. Scientists scanned her body and confirmed the impossible. Her child's DNA was a mixed Lyran and human, perfect harmony. But what surprised them more was the energy signature. The baby's life force was stronger than expected, peaceful, but powerful. This shouldn't be possible, one doctor said. But it is. Another replied, and it's growing fast. Nera sat on the bed while Eric stood beside her. She looked at him with tired eyes. They will not let us stay quiet, she said. Your people, my people, they will want answers. Eric nodded. Then we give them truth. We didn't plan this. But it's not wrong. She smiled at his words. Soon, leaders from both human and Lyran councils requested meetings. Some wanted to question Nera, others wanted to take her away for study and protection. But Eric refused. She's not a science project. He told them, she's a person, and that's my child. The two were moved to a secure, quiet place deep within Earth's United Space Facility, rooms with gardens, soft lights, and peace. Still, news of Nera's words spread fast. Media channels across planets showed her arrival and repeated her message again and again. People were divided. Some were amazed, some were confused, some feared what the baby might become. But for Eric and Nera, none of that mattered right now. Each day, Eric sat with Nera. They watched the stars from the window, shared meals, and spoke about simple things. He taught her more English. She taught him words from her language. They laughed sometimes, other times, they just sat in silence, feeling comfort in each other's presence. One evening, Eric asked softly, "Did you mean it when you said, 'Marry me'?" Nera looked at him, her expression gentle. "Yes. In my heart, I already chose you." He took her hand and smiled. "Then we'll face all this together." Outside their room, more changes were happening. Scientists were studying the baby's growing energy. Leaders were arguing about what it meant. Some feared war. Others whispered about a prophecy. But deep inside the peaceful garden room, none of that touched Nera and Eric. Not yet. The real storm had not started, but the first light of something new had begun. Inside the quiet garden room, Nera's baby continued to grow. It had only been a few weeks, but the child was developing faster than expected. Every skin showed healthy signs, but something else too. The baby's energy was not just strong. It was strange, calming, warm, and unlike anything human or Lyran scientists had seen before. The doctors kept running tests. Each time, the results surprised them. The child's heartbeat moved in a rhythm that seemed to affect nearby machines. Lights blinked. Slower, scanners quieted, and even people nearby began to feel peaceful. "This child has a field around it," one doctor said. "It's like it's changing the space around us. We've never seen anything like it," another added. "It shouldn't exist, but it does." But while some saw wonder, others began to worry. A human government official spoke through a secure channel. "This child might be a danger. We need full control." A Lyran elder replied firmly, "No, we won't let the child be taken. She is one of us." Tensions rose. People from both sides sent messages, demanding answers. Was this baby a weapon, a miracle, or a threat? Eric and Nera were kept away from all of it. The leaders said it was for their safety. Still, the walls around them got thicker, and guards watched them more closely. Nera felt it. So did Eric. "They don't trust us," Nera said softly. One night, she sat in the small garden, her hand resting on her belly. "They are afraid." Eric nodded. "They don't understand. Fear comes when people don't know the truth." Nera looked at him. "But will they ever believe the truth?" Eric reached for her hand. "Then we'll show them. Not with words, but with what we do." As days passed, small signs appeared. One guard who stood near the room every day suddenly began smiling more. A technician who once frowned all the time now hummed soft songs during work. Everyone who came near the baby for too long felt something peaceful in their heart. A doctor named Lena was the first to speak openly. "This baby isn't dangerous," she said to her team. This baby makes people better, calmer, more open. She told Eric and Nera, I think your child can change people. Not with power, but with feeling. Nera smiled. She is Light. That's what her name will be. Light, Eric asked. Yes, in my language. Her name will be Selen. It means light in the darkness. Eric placed his hand gently on Nera's belly. Hello, Selen. He whispered. The baby kicked. Just once. Eric laughed. Nera's eyes filled with tears. Outside their peaceful world, more voices began to rise. A group of alien leaders from another sector sent a strong message. Destroy them. Child or hand it over. Balance must be kept. They believed the baby would break the ancient laws that kept species apart. They call it World Link, a being that could connect races in ways no one ever imagined. And they feared that. Earth single quotes as leaders held a meeting. Some wanted to protect the baby. Others thought giving the child up might avoid conflict. General said, we can't risk a war for one child. But the president replied, this child is more than one life. It's a bridge between worlds. Eric and Nera weren't told everything, but they could feel the pressure growing. Guards became stricter. Their visitors stopped. Whispers in the halls turned sharp and quiet. One night, Nera sat in the corner of the room. She didn't speak for a long time. Eric sat beside her. They want to take her, she said at last. Then we stop them, Eric replied. How? He looked at her. We stay strong. We stay together. No matter what comes. Nera leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm scared. Me too, he said. But we won't be alone. We have her. The baby kicked again. Strong this time. The lights in the room dimmed, then returned to normal. Something was coming. And the world was about to change. The peace around Eric and Nera was slowly fading. More ships started arriving near Earth's orbit, some from distant parts of the galaxy. They didn't come with weapons raised, but their message was clear. Hand over the child or face consequences. These were not friendly visitors. They were from the old races, the ones who once ruled over weaker species. They feared change. They feared what the child could become. Inside the secure facility, Nera sat on the floor, breathing slowly. Her eyes were closed, hands resting on her stomach. The baby was growing stronger. Her energy filled the room like a soft breeze. Even the guards outside the door had begun to feel uneasy, to calm, to still. They will come for us, Nera said without opening her eyes. Eric stood at the window, watching the stars. Then they'll have to get through me. She opened her eyes and gave a small smile. You can't fight a fleet alone. Maybe not, he said. But I won't run, and I won't give her up. A soft knock came from the door. It opened, and Dr. Lena stepped in, her face tense. The council has decided to move you to Off-Earth, she said. To a safe place. Safe from who? Eric asked. The Rithar Alliance, she replied. They sent a message. They're coming. And they see your daughter as a threat to balance. She's just a baby, Nera said softly. Lena looked at her. That's what makes them afraid. A new ship arrived above Earth. It didn't fire, but it blocked signals and shut down several satellites. The Rithar had arrived. They didn't give a warning shot. They gave an order. Deliver the hybrid child to us in 24 hours. Earth's leaders panicked. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to give in. Debates filled the halls, but no one could agree. In the middle of all this, Eric made his choice. I won't hide, he said. If they want answers, they can talk to me. He stood in front of a council screen the next morning. Beside him stood Nera, her face calm. Cameras showed their image across every planet linked to the Earth network. Eric spoke firmly. You fear what you don't understand, but this child is not a weapon. She's proof that two worlds can become one. Nera added, we didn't break laws. We followed our hearts, and now a new life has started. You can't erase that. The Rithar responded, this child is not natural. She is dangerous. But then something strange happened across the Earth's surface, where people were watching. Small changes began. Those near the broadcast felt peace. Arguments stopped. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Even animals grew calm. The baby inside. Nera was reaching out without words. The Rithar paused their attack. Scientists, leaders, and ordinary people began to speak. Messages came in. We support the child. Let her live. She brings peace. The world was changing, but not all agreed. A group within the Rithar fleet broke away from the others. They sent one last message. If the child is not turned over, we will remove her by force. The countdown began. 10 hours left. Eric and Nera were moved again, this time to a deep space station hidden inside a nearby moon. A small team stayed with them. Dr. Lena, a few trusted guards, and an old Lyran warrior who had once protected Nera's family. If they come, he said, we will not surrender. Inside the quiet room, Nera suddenly held her stomach. Pain. It came quickly. She's coming, Nera whispered, her breath shaking. What? Eric ran to her side. The baby, she said. She's ready. As alarms rang outside and warships moved into formation, something new began inside that little room. Not destruction. Not fear, but life. And the galaxy was not ready for what was about to happen. Alarms echoed through the moon station. Outside, ships moved across the dark sky. The breakaway Rithar fleet was closing in, ready to strike. Inside the small room at the heart of the station, Nera lay on the bed, her hands gripping the edges tightly. It's time, she whispered. Through the pain. Eric was by her side, holding her hand. Sweat covered her face, but her eyes stayed focused. She was not afraid, not for herself, but for the life inside her. Dr. Lena moved quickly. We can't move her now. The child is coming too fast. The old Lyran warrior stood at the door, holding a long staff. Let them come, he said. They will not pass me. Outside the station, defense systems powered up. Earth ships moved into position. Smaller crafts circled the moon station. Like shields, the countdown from the Rithar fleet had reached its final moments. 5 minutes left. The enemy prepared their main weapon, a pulse designed to wipe out anything with high energy. It would destroy Nera, the baby, and the station. They believed they were doing it to protect the galaxy, but something unexpected happened. Inside the room, as Nera cried out, a soft blue glow filled the space. The light came from her belly. Soft at first, then brighter. Dr. Lena dropped her tools, staring in silence. What is that? She whispered. Eric looked down and saw the same mark that had once glowed on his wrist, now glowing stronger on the baby inside. The room became warm, full of light, like a calm sun. Outside, scanners picked up a strange signal. Enemy ships paused. Confused, weapons refused to lock. Targeting systems failed. We can't fire. One Rithar pilot shouted. Our system is freezing. Ships shut down one by one, not destroyed, but gently stopped. Lights inside them dimmed. Engines went silent. Crews inside the enemy fleet felt their anger disappear, replaced by something they couldn't explain. Peace. Inside the birthing room, Nera gave one last push. A soft cry echoed out, a sound so pure, so full of life, that even the old warrior outside lowered his staff and wiped a tear. The baby had arrived. A little girl with soft lavender skin and tiny eyes that shimmered gold. Her small body glowed with a light that touched everyone in the room. Eric held her in his arms, his voice shaking. She's here. Selen is here. Nera smiled weakly. She is the light outside. The Rithar ships slowly powered down. They sent no more warnings, no more threats. The leaders sent a single message instead. We understand. We will not fight. Doctors and guards across the station stood still. The tension that had filled them for days vanished. Many wept. Others simply knelt, not knowing why. Eric looked at Nera, who was now resting, her hand reaching for his. You did it, he whispered. No. She replied, we did it, together. Hours later, a small ceremony was held inside the station. Not with fancy lights or big speeches, just a simple moment where Earth leaders, Lyran elders, and even a Rithar voice on screen all watched as Selen was named. She is not just ours. Nera said, she belongs to both our worlds, and maybe, Eric added, to all of them. Far above, satellites began to move again. Ships returned to patrol. But the galaxy had changed. Something impossible had happened, not just the birth of a hybrid child, but the birth of hope. One small life had stopped a war. And the stars had grown quieter because of it. After the birth of Selin, the galaxy felt different. The tension that had hung in the air slowly lifted. The leaders of Earth, Lyran, and even the Rithar began to speak with hope, not fear. Eric held his daughter carefully. Her small hands reached up to touch his face, her golden eyes shining with calm light. Nera sat beside him, tired but smiling. "She is perfect," Nera whispered. "More than I ever dreamed." Eric nodded. "She is the future." Word spread fast across planets and star systems. People heard of the child who stopped a war. Many traveled to meet Selin, hoping to see the light they had heard about. Some came with peace offerings, others with curiosity. With Selin's birth, new talks began between old enemies. The Rithar sent ambassadors to Earth. The Lyran shared technology to help rebuild damaged worlds. Eric and Nera watched these changes quietly, knowing it was only the start. One evening, as stars twinkled through the large windows of their home on Earth, Nera took Eric's hand. "Will you marry me now?" she asked softly. Eric smiled and pulled her close. "I thought you'd never ask." Their wedding was small but beautiful. Friends from Earth, Lyran, and even some from the Rithar came to celebrate. Selin was there too, wrapped in soft blankets, watching the lights with curious eyes. The ceremony was not about old traditions, but about new beginnings. It was about two worlds coming together, not just through love, but through hope. Eric and Nera promised to protect Selin and the peace she had brought. They promised to teach her about both their worlds, so she could be a true bridge. As months passed, Selin grew quickly. Her powers stayed gentle but strong. She could calm storms, fix broken machines with a touch, and bring joy to those who felt sadness. Everywhere she went, light followed. Children from many worlds came to play with her, alien and human alike. Their laughter echoed through parks and streets. Selin did not see differences. She only saw friends. The galaxy began to change too. Old borders became paths, enemies became allies. Where once stood walls and weapons, now were gardens and markets. Eric looked at all this and smiled. He thought back to the day he found Nera on Irian 6, to the dreams and fears, to the battles and birth. Who would have thought, he said quietly to Nera, that one little life could change so much? Nera smiled. Sometimes the smallest light shines brightest. Their daughter, Selin, held their hands tightly. She was the hope of many, the future of all. And so, from a quiet rescue on a broken world to the bright light that united stars, the story of a human, an alien, and their child became a legend. A legend that showed even in the darkest times, love and courage could create a new beginning.